And you don't think of Japan as a huge blues audience, but Otis Rush was huge over there.
He was, but at the same time, I don't know that I actually was in the blues scene. You know, it was mostly guitar heads who had not ever heard blues before and kind of thought I invented it. I was playing in all of these sort of underground nightclubs when it started, these big sort of underground clubs, and it was all full of 21-year-old Japanese metalheads.
Yeah.
They were just into the guitar thing and thought I was doing something new with it or different with it. And that's really where my market came from in Japan. And I haven't been for about 5 years. I'm actually heading back for the first time in that time in June. I head back over to do a
great story there too. Tell us about that one with the guy you gave a little lesson to.
Yeah,
Tell us about this one.
You never know who's in the crowd, and you hear that all the time, and you never once believed it. But I was doing a show at Disneyland at the peak of all that Japan stuff, and a little kid, he would have been 14 or 15, and he was waiting backstage, and he waited for hours and hours. And I finally sort of brought him backstage and signed his guitar and gave him a bit of a guitar lesson. And the next thing I heard was, years later, he's a big rock star in Japan, and he's doing this enormous show, and he really wants me to come over and be a special guest there. So
that's amazing.
He wants to introduce me to his fans, and that's typical of the Japanese people anyway. They're such beautiful, giving, amazing souls. So yeah, it's this thrilling thing to kind of go over there as this guy's mate and get on his stage with him and shoot it out.
Incredible. And talking about going overseas, you're virtually going to spend the rest of the year there, aren't you? Not many gigs.
No, so September I'll be in Europe as well. I'm a St Kilda fan, so early in the season I decided I should leave the country during the finals and would have no use for me here. So I thought I'll head over to Europe. And I was just in Germany. I was in LA earlier in the year, and in Japan. So a lot going on, but still plenty of shows in Australia. It's like I hit the ground and just go straight on tour every single time.
Incredible. Let's talk about another period of your life, the Blues in School programs. You've been involved in those. Now that sounds interesting. Tell us a bit about that.
It's really, it's one of the great honours, I think, of my life to have been involved in that. I was living in Kansas City, and they had a school there. I think they call it a school for wayward teens, but essentially it's a prison. And for naughty children, and they asked if I'd go and teach there. Blues in Schools is a nationwide program in the States.
Great idea.
It's a wonderful thing, especially teaching young African American kids about their bloodline in music. The culture of rhythm and blues, which dates back so far and has such a wonderful tradition.
And how do they accept an Australian?
That I asked this question myself.
Here you are
I asked that question myself, but I was 19, so I was actually quite close to their age. And I think that they responded to me because of that. And so I went in and I started teaching these kids how to play music and play the blues. And the idea was that in Kansas City, we get all these kids into bands and then put a concert on with a big headliner and supply instruments to schools and financing schools' music programs that didn't have a music program. And it's absolutely essential, and the reason I did that is the same reason I go to the Aboriginal communities now. It's the same reason that I make the time for all the kids that come to the shows, is because my father always said, every child deserves the opportunity to play music.
You want to actually give an instrument to every Indigenous person, don't you? You want everyone.
I'm aiming for it, yeah.
I'm aiming for it. That's one of your goals in life.
It is. It's my number one goal right now. I spend a little bit of time in a place called Leonora, which is a wonderful community full of just beautiful people, and I ended up, I donated a couple of Coldplay guitars out there, and then decided I wanted to do more. So I'm slowly wanting to supply music to the area, and then right across Australia, putting guitars in people's hands. It's
fantastic.
I think it's so important, and access to musical instruments is a really good reason to get up and go to school in the morning.
Absolutely. Now, with the Blues in School, so never been adapted here? Anyone ever tried to sort of bring it here?
Well, it's not part of the culture, I suppose, and it's not part of the...
But just a music, a similar thing, surely could be adapted.
Look, I mean, without getting too deep into it, I suppose that Australia is really but a toddler in the scheme of the world, if you think about it. And so we're a long way from building that long history of music and long history of culture in that sense. It's wonderful to be a part of that, and the building of it.
Yep.
And that's part of what I love playing blues in Australia for, is because we have such amazing musicians here, and to watch it slowly get more and more recognised has been really enjoyable.
The talent is just incredible. You know, getting the CDs all the time, and it just gets better and better. And the kids coming through, which obviously, you know, as we talked about, the MBAS being responsible for that, getting people like you to mentor at these Youth in Blues sessions, and Chris Wilson and you know, names like that, just wonderful.
Well, the concept, and I look back at that when I was a child, the fact that I had heroes I could call on the phone who might as well have been Muddy Waters to me.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to call Dutch Childers and go to his house and have a jam session was incredible, and you can still do that to this day. And one of the most exciting things about the blues in Australia is that it's family oriented. It's directed at that kind of friendly atmosphere, and there is a wonderful place there for children, especially when you consider the blues jams. Now, what I tell the young players all the time is get out to the blues jam, because it's the only style of music where you can go out and actually sit in with professional musicians any night of the week.
Yeah.
Whether you end up playing blues or not is completely irrelevant. It's a fundamental stepping stone to all music that came after it. So you may as well get a grounding in it and get some stage experience by getting out to blues jams.
Exactly, yeah, and the quality of the MBAS is wonderful, and see, like you say, every week, just get up and give it a go.
That's right, and that's where you learn your licks, man, because there'll be a guy who gets up who knows things you don't know, and you go home and practice, trust me.
Absolutely. All right, we'll go to another couple of sponsors, and we might come back and Lloyd might play another one for us if we're lucky.
My lover sets me down to rest, and my lover lays my head upon her breast. My lover shines on from above, but my lover will never be my lover. My family gave all they had to give. Now my family is leading me to live. My family can't run from the past now. My family is dim and fading fast. Mississippi, beneath the blazing sky, the Mississippi sun is on the rise. Mississippi is shining like they say. Mississippi, I return to her someday. Alright.
Yeah. Okay. You're listening to Blues on the Hill. You're with Baz, and that was Lloyd Spiegel.